Hey, what's up? Hello! Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be talking about a very popular fantasy duology that was just completed with the new release, and that is the Crimson Moth Duology. So what we're going to be talking about in today's video is if I think these books are worth the hype and my review of them. Now, I am a beginning fantasy reader, but I would categorize this as romantasy. Anyway, I just wanted to give my thoughts, and if you haven't read this duology yet, I just want to tell you if I think it's worth your money, worth your time, worth the hype. And also, I'm just going to be talking a little bit about both of these books. Now, this is spoiler free. So if you haven't read it, no worries. But yeah, I just wanted to talk about my review on it, and also at the end of this video, let me know what you guys thought of it, if you've read it or if you're planning to read it. And that's it. So without further ado, let's just get into today's video. Okay, so first let's start off with Heartless Hunter. I'm just going to tell you a little bit about what this book entails. So the female main character's name is Rune, and she is a witch. And the male main character's name is Gideon, and he is a witch hunter. So in this world, there are witches and there are non-witches. Pretty simple to understand, so not super high fantasy. Something that's unique about this book that I really liked was that Rune is a member of elite society, which I really like books that include like dinner parties and balls, and it's like very Bridgerton-esque to me. It was interesting to just see someone that is a member of high society, but she's kind of like impersonating that high class, because as a witch she automatically is become this like minority hunted, obviously, member of society, and looked at as less than by a lot of people, and her life is in danger. So she's actually not as privileged as people make her out to be. So that's the main premise of this book. And what I also loved about this book was that there is a fake dating trope, but it's interesting because the characters that are fake dating, it's like they don't know that they're fake dating. So like Rune, and this is all within the dust cover, so I don't think I'm spoiling anything, but Rune is courting Gideon and Gideon is courting Rune, but they're both doing it for ulterior motives, but neither one of them know that they're in this fake dating situation. They both think that their feelings for each other are sincere, but they both have ulterior motives, is what I'm trying to say. So it was an interesting take on fake dating to me, and it felt very refreshing. Now, I don't want to give a synopsis of this book, obviously, because if you haven't read the first book, then it would be a bit of a spoiler to touch too much on what this book entails. But of course, this is just completing the story of Gideon and Rune and how their lives played out. I will say about both of these books, one of my favorite things about them is that it's very morally gray. So there's not really a good guy or bad guy necessarily. Like, you can see things from both the witch's perspective, like the witch population, and the witch hunter's population. You can see things from Rune's perspective, also from Gideon's perspective, and it's like you almost have to root for both of them because you get to see both sides. That's the thing about dual POV, is that you get to see both sides and see inside their heads, and so it's like, again, just like morally gray. Another thing I'll say about this is that it's so bingeable. Now, again, I'm not a super big fantasy reader, so I read this within, I think, 2 days, which is unheard of for me when it comes to fantasy, because usually fantasy just drags for me. But I could not put this one down, and I found the romance aspect, I would say that I'm a little bit of a harsh critic on romance because I get the ick very easily, and some stuff is just very cringy to me, but I didn't find this cringy at all. Like, maybe there was a line here or there that was a bit cringe, but for the most part, I was all in on this couple. Like, I was looking up pictures of like fan casting on Pinterest. Like, I was all into it. So listening to playlists, like totally romanticizing their relationship. So I loved that, and I loved how bingeable it was. And I'll just read you my Goodreads review for this book to kind of encapsulate my final review on that. I wrote, Kristen Ciccarelli is heartless for that ending. Now, I will say, no pun intended. Well, actually, it's intended, but heartless. You see what I did? So she is heartless for this ending. Like, I was almost in tears when I read this ending, and I could not wait for Rebel Witch to come out. Now, I read this really quickly before, really soon before Rebel Witch came out, so I didn't have to wait for long, but... And then I also said I love the short chapters and the tension between Rune and Gideon. So I'm a big tension over spice girly, and this series and this book definitely delivered on this. This duology delivered, okay? It served on the tension over spice. So if you're like me and you prefer that, then I would definitely recommend this for you. But the short chapters made it so bingeable as well, and it made it so quick to get through. Okay, so now talking about this one, my Goodreads review, I said some parts of this book were predictable, but I still loved it. I didn't expect the ending to play out the way that it did, and it had me on the edge of my seat, and this is definitely enemies to lovers done right. So some enemies to lovers annoys me because they're not really enemies. Like, they have no real reason to be enemies. Like, they just for some reason decided that they don't like each other, or like they picked on each other as kids, so they're enemies, but they have no really reason. Now, this is high stakes enemies. Like, he is supposed to be hunting her, so they are true enemies. But back to this one. So the plot twist of this, and I heard this from a lot of people, but it was very predictable. Like, you could tell within the first few pages what the plot twist was going to be, and I was just waiting for the other shoe to drop the whole time. But it's okay, because I will say that the ending wasn't predictable. Like, it was, but the way that it played out wasn't predictable. Like, there were a couple things that did shock me about the way that it played out, and the ending I was very satisfied with and made my heart happy. So it ended in a satisfying way. Now, in terms of my rating on this series, I gave both books a 4.5 stars. So it wasn't exactly a 5-star series or duology for me, just because I didn't get that 5-star feeling. Like, it was just missing a little something, and I don't know exactly what it was, but I feel like everybody has a different 5-star rating system, or a different like rating system for how they rate books. And just for me, like, if I rate something a 4-star, I love that book, but there's just a couple elements that didn't work for me, or it's just simply because I just didn't get that 5-star feeling. Like, for me to have the 5-star rating on a book, I just think about the book all the time. Like, I don't want to put the book down. There's absolutely nothing that I would change about it. And if it's something where there's plot twist, I don't predict the plot twist. And it's just like, it hooks me from beginning to end. Like, I know a lot of people say about books, oh yeah, like the first half is really slow, but the ending is worth it. And that is not a way to convince me to read a book, because like, if something is going to be a good book to me in like a 5-star series, it's going to be good from beginning to end. And this duology almost made it there, but it was just not quite there. And I don't know if it was just because like Heartless Hunter, it started off a bit slow for me. Like, the first book started off a bit slow, and there were pieces of Crimson Moth that I did, or Rebel Witch, not Crimson Moth. There were parts of Rebel Witch that I did predict. So just for that reason, it was an overall 4.5. But addressing, is it overhyped? I am telling you, before I picked up this book, I saw it everywhere. It was like almost every video that I feel like I clicked on, I saw a review of this book. Like, I had never read this book, but I could tell you the synopsis like right off the top of my head, because I've heard so many people sum it up. And so I think that sometimes hype can ruin a book, because like, you've just heard about it so much, and it builds up these high expectations, and then when you read it, you expect so much. So even if it's like a perfectly good book, you just feel let down by the hype. This wasn't the case for this one. I feel like it's accurately hyped. I bought this one, I think in October, and I just now got around to reading it in February. I think it's accurately hyped. I definitely get what the hype is about now that I've read it. So I would say it's worth all the hype it deserves. Same thing for this as a duology. I feel like they're accurately hyped. And I will say that I love a good duology, because I don't have to commit to like a 6, 7, 8 book series. I'm just finished. Even though I will say that I kind of wish there were more books, just because I love these characters and I don't want to leave this world. Like, I want to read more of them, and I loved it. I will say that you guys know me and I love Taylor Swift, and I have to say, if you want a good song to add to your playlist while reading, if you're a person that likes to listen to music like me while you're reading books, is Who's Afraid of Little Me by Taylor Swift. This whole duology gives Tortured Poets Department vibes. Also Cassandra, that's a great one for this duology, so just keep those on your radar if you decide to read. So just to wrap up, I will say that from my perspective as a beginning fantasy reader, these books are worth your time and money. If you're trying to ease yourself into fantasy, I would recommend these for sure. Like, these made me feel more comfortable going into some other fantasy, and they're also romantasy. So like, if you're a big romance girly like me, then I think that these books are perfect for you. I don't think they're hard to get into. Like I said, like, the world is pretty simple, I would say. And I just had a great time reading them. So I think they're worth your money. As always, if you guys have read these books, I would love to hear your thoughts, and let me know also if you plan on reading them. And thank you for watching my video. Please like and leave a comment. It really helps so much. And I'll catch you guys on the next one.